Is your little a little too quiet for you? Well, what I'm going to share with you in this video will have you eating your words and regretting the day that you wished that your child would talk more. What? So if your child's not talking, like speech language delay, stubbornness, shyness, downright just trying to take it all in, those are just a few reasons why toddlers may choose not to speak. And while it may seem like it's really important to know why sometimes, that's not always possible, and that's okay. But we are going to try some strategies that I'm hoping that if we work on them together, we can teach your little one how to talk at home. All right. So first, you're going to really need to assess your child as a whole. Like, let's focus on the positives. What can your child do? And so it's really important that we start here because this part always really gets neglected, right? It's hard to see the whole picture when you're only looking at one side. My husband and I, a while back, were given some advice about something called the 5-to-1 rule. And I had never heard of this rule before, but when I listened to what it was and I was introduced to it, it really made a lot of sense. And it really goes for anybody. When you focus on what people do right, they have a tendency to be encouraged to do more good things, right? But when you focus on the bad, well, you know, I'm sure you get it. And you're welcome to take this back to your spouses when yet another pair of shoes are left at the door. Just say, honey, I love how you didn't leave your shoes outside. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to do the best you can, right? Back to the babies. You want to encourage your little one and not discourage them. So I'll do you one better. Let's start off with like a 10-to-1.
Another one.
Right? Get us on the right track. Think of 10 things your child can do and no cop-outs or cheats, like he can breathe on his own. Look at him over there just breathing and stuff, taking in all that air. Or she's the best raspberry blower. Beatboxing is in her future for sure.
Stop it.
I mean, in the same category as things you're actually concerned about, okay? If you're concerned about your child not requesting items or using words, well, can they use verbal approximations or parts of the word? And can they do it consistently and call items the same thing, even if you don't know what they're saying necessarily? Well, folks, it seems like we got ourselves a winner. Ding, 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 ding. We're going to use those positives to boost them, right? And so now let's compare what they can do to what they should be doing. Remember that 10-to-1, or at least 5-to-1, okay? We used this example before. Verbal or word approximations, and I'll give you an example so you know what I'm talking about. When your child says wah wah, you know, which is a phonological process called reduplication, well, when should they start being able to say water instead of wah wah? SLP, professional mode activated. A phonological process is a simplification of certain speech sounds that may make them easier for your child to say, and oftentimes we see this in small children, which is typical and considered within normal limits, as long as this disappears after around age 3 to 4. For more information on phonological processes, refer to my video on, you guessed it, phonological processes. All right, and I'm back. So, like I said, by age 3, we should start seeing these phonological processes disappear, right? Well, 3 to 4. Well, this is the starting point. Once the child requests this item, you know, let them use their verbal approximations, then praise them for using that same consistent word to request that item. If your child is not speaking at all, then are they looking at the items? We'll praise them for paying attention, and then our starting point is there. And we're going to get them to make a verbal request of some sort, right? And if they're saying one word, then let's make sure that we focus on multisyllabic words before moving to phrases, right? Or sentences, such as, I want blank, or blank, please. Hold your horses, folks. We'll get there. Rome wasn't built in a day, or whatever they say. Even if you feel like they're behind, positivity is key. You truly do have all the time in the world, right? They're not going anywhere, and neither are you. The second point we want to look at, let's talk. So here we are at the fun part. This is where we get a chance to have a little bit of fun. Well, fun for them at least. We don't get that luxury anymore, right?
What?
I kid. Okay. So you're going to create an environment to encourage them to speak. You're going to use things that they like or are familiar with, and that's going to encourage them to speak. Remember, you're in control of this environment. In order for you to keep control, you're going to make sure that these things are enticing to them and things that they actually want, right? Things that are going to keep their attention and that they really will focus on. Also, make sure those things are just out of reach. Maybe I should have said that first. If you're following along with me, do over. Take whatever it is away from them and make sure the rest of the items are out of reach. Sorry. We want them to request these items verbally and use some form of words in order to get what they want, right? Because that's going to be really important. Next point. One key point that you should start implementing, if you haven't already started implementing it, is talk, then teach. This is very important. Not just in this moment, but pretty much all the time, right? We're going to bombard them throughout the day with words, explaining what you're doing, you know what I mean, throughout the day, when you're cooking and cleaning, whatever. Basically, you're narrating what you're doing. And you might look a little crazy, but I promise it's worth it. And then all you'll need is your own theme song. Just kidding. Another really good way to do this is through play. Playing with your child, you're down on their level, interacting and engaging. And this is going to help them do something fun that they want to do, right? You can narrate what they are doing, make the sounds of the animals that they're playing with, or if they're playing with cars, boom, boom, a lion, right? You're just going to keep it fun now. You get to have fun with them, right? Keep that play, chill vibe and environment going as it's meant to be, right? During this process, we are not asking questions. I repeat, we are not asking questions. This is the time to expose them as much as possible with words and vocabulary to the world around them, right? You may find that they get so excited that they squeal out words. Praise them at that point, right? Stop and praise them. Repeat the word that they said so that they know what they're doing that's right, but also still keep it chill. We're still having fun with it, right? When it's time for them to talk, we have our items with us, still out of reach, right? And we're playing with them, we're showing it to them, we're asking them if they want it or to choose between two items, and they must give some kind of a verbal response before they can get, you know, whatever the desired item is. Keep in mind, don't ask too many questions. Remember, we're bombarding them with words and information, but now is not the time for questions, right? It just adds unnecessary pressure. This is where the narration comes in again. You can narrate what they are doing too. Like before, we were talking about you narrating what you're doing. You can narrate what they're doing. And this really works well, like sometimes during snack time also, because then you're able to give them a choice out of two. Don't think about it too much, right? Make sure to tell them what each item is first, right? And you're putting emphasis on that word. You'll hold it up, repeat it at least 2 to 3 times so that they get it in their head. And, you know, ask them to choose by repeating the name of the item that they want to, right? Cookie, this is a cookie. You want the cookie? What do you want, cookie or juice, right? Next, consistency is key, right? You want to be as stubborn as they are sometimes, right? Some children are more stubborn than others. And, you know, truth is, you know your child. If you've had an ongoing issue or you suspect that your child is being stubborn, or unfortunately, maybe you've been giving them what they want without them having to ask for it. No judgment here. But if your little one is prone to having tantrums related to speaking, then this may help pretty much. Now, the other tantrums, like as it relates to behavior stuff, you know, that ain't none of my business. But now is the time to put your foot down. Literally or figuratively. It's up to you. But one thing's for sure, don't give in, right? Ignore bad behaviors. As long as they're not in any danger, they're going to be all right, right? Don't call out those behaviors and don't even bring any attention to them whatsoever. Only respond to the words and the verbal request, or, whatever's their usual. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. If they are only making verbal approximations right now at this point, then we're not going to try to torture your kid, right? If they give you their best based on what you know that they can do, that's what we're looking for, right? Then they are rewarded with what they want, right? Or what they're requesting. It's still at your discretion. I'm not trying to tell you how to be a parent or anything, but at least give them verbal praise, at least, okay? If this turns out to be a mess show, I would say that the alternative is to still ignore the undesired behaviors for as long as possible, and then put the item away if they won't at least try to give you something. And if you need to break out a peace treaty, if the battle is raging on too long and there is no clear victory in sight, compromise could, look like them making a sound or just saying yes if they want, if they want what you have, but they can't just do nothing. As a parent, I'm gonna leave up the improvising up to you. And even if you'd rather give them something else instead of what they're asking for as a consolation or a piece of food, if they're asking for a particular snack, those are just suggestions. Also, wait times are also really important. Sometimes, especially when there are limited visual reinforcements, it takes kids a little bit longer to process what you said. Keep that in mind. And also how to respond. So give them I would say 5 to 10 seconds to respond before repeating the question, or before asking another question, or even making a decision at that point. This is going to help them to not get overwhelmed or confused. And it's going to take some time, but it takes the pressure off of them speaking. And before we wrap up, there are a few more do's and don'ts. First, do subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying this video and want to see more like this one. And don't go before you hear this last important tip. Last but not least, give them babies your undivided attention, please. As much as you can, okay? I know that that's not always possible, and I'm not trying to have you burn dinner or crash the car, but I'm just saying, as much as you can, look at them. Be intentional by making eye contact, preferably with a smile,
Don't be mean.
I'm not trying to mean mug so that they know that you're listening to them, but don't already think oh no, I'm in trouble. And I can't wait for the comments asking me to make a video on how to make them sit down and be quiet. I guarantee they're coming.